We designed a multi-agent system based on the new IPS research paper. And what we built was, we built the five specialized agent, a planner, researcher, critic, synthesizer, and a validator. Now, each agent could actually message each other, dynamic collaboration, dynamic coordination, emergent collaboration. It's beautiful on the whiteboard. And we actually spent 3 months to build it. When it comes to the cost per query, it was $12. P95 latency was 18 seconds. And debuggability was impossible. We shipped to the staging environment and it failed every production readiness review. Now, what we then built was we rebuilt it with two agents and a state machine. The cost dropped to just 40 cents. The latency dropped to 3 seconds. And we shipped it in 2 weeks. So, if you read multi agent papers, you will see the architecture with 10, 15, 20 agents communicating in complex graph. The agents will negotiate, the agents will debate, agents will vote. It's intellectually compelling, and almost none of it ships to the production. See, the gap is not about the engineering capability. The gap over here is about the constraint. The production system face cost budget, latency service level objective, operational complexity that academic environment doesn't model. The architectures that survive are radically simpler than what research papers suggest. And most production multi-agent systems are generally 2 to 3 agents with explicit handoff. There won't be any mesh. There is no dynamic coordination that would happen in most of the scenarios. It will be sequential or parallel composition with clear boundaries. The complexity is generally not in the agent graph, it's in the state management and error recovery. To give you a high level idea and the pictorial representation, I want you to just focus on this slide over here. In the research paper, as I mentioned, you'll have multi agents, you'll have a dynamic agent to agent messaging, emergent collaboration, all these would happen. But in the production, you'll generally have 2 to 3 agents, and these agents will be executing maybe in sequential or in parallel with clear boundaries. And the orchestrator will control the flow, and there won't be much agent to agent messaging. Now, this matters because the teams would waste months building the paper architecture that can't meet the production constraint and the readiness. The ones who ship successfully start with the simplest topology that solves the problem and then only add the agent when trade offs justify it. So let's start by understanding as why complexity doesn't ship. See, every agent invocation is going to cost money, which is your inference budget. In a agent mesh scenario, where agents can actually call each other in an arbitrarily manner, the number of LLM calls grows combinatorily. There's no fixed number that says as this is the number of calls that you would be using. The newer IPS systems that we actually build, the planner would generate a plan, send it to the researcher. The researcher would gather the data, send back to the critic, and the critic would identify the gaps, send the feedback to the researcher. The researcher would then fetch more data set, send it to the synthesizer. The synthesizer will then go ahead and generate a draft and send it back to the validator. The validator will again identify the errors and send back to the synthesizer. So you can see that there are 6 agents and there will be, let's say, 14 LLM calls per query. Now, even if you consider the GPT-4 as a pricing, I'm not considering the latest model. Even if you consider the GPT-4 pricing, that's $8 to $12 depending on the context length. Now, we ran it on 100 test queries and cost was $1,000 only for testing. Now, when we take a look into the production constraint, the cost per query needs to be under 50 cents to hit the margin target. 14 LLM calls doesn't fit the budget itself. You can optimize, maybe use the smaller model for the same agent, and maybe you need to cache aggressively, but the fundamental math doesn't work. When you add more agent, it means more the higher cost. So the pattern that would ship over here is simple. Two agent, sequential composition. Agent one maybe does the retrieval and planning, and agent two does the generation. Two LLM calls, 40 cents. If you need validation, you add a third agent that runs conditionally, maybe only when the confidence is below a certain threshold. So at the max, you can have three agent. So average, you'll be having, let's say, 2.3 calls per query. If I want to give you a code snippet, think of it something like this. You'll have a agent one, and maybe you'll have a conditional agent. And if it is, let's say you can skip the retrieval for high confidence FAQ queries, else use the agent 2 for retrieval and agent 3 for generation, which always runs. So the intent classification and generation always runs. And depending on the confidence, you can actually run the second agent. That's basically a simplistic way and the simplistic approach to solve your business problem instead of building 50, 20 agents based on the research paper. Now, another best part over here is when we start building these agents from the research paper, the debuggability is a nightmare. When a multi-agent system produces a bad answer, you need to trace the failure. If you're using a mesh topology, that's intractable. We had a production incident that was at a very early stage when we were referring this research paper and implementing it, where the synthesizer the synthesizer agent generated a response that contradicted the retrieved document. Now we needed to understand why. So we pulled the logs. The planner had generated a plan. The researcher had retrieved 5 documents. The critic had flagged 2 as relevance. The researcher had fetched 3 more. The synthesizer had used maybe another 4 of 8 documents. And now the question that comes over here is which 4 and why those 4 were actually used as a retrieval process? The logs didn't say anything. So we traced backwards. The synthesizer's prompt included context from the researcher and the feedback from the critic. So the critic's feedback referenced the planner's original intent to understand why the synthesizer made its decision. And we had to reconstruct the full message history across all these 4 agents. And it actually took close to 3 hours just to debug the single query. Now, if you think about it, the production constraint and the production reality is for the on call engineers, we should be able to debug the failures in minutes, not hours. So, when agents can message each other in these kind of arbitrary pattern, the execution trace becomes a graph. And graphs are harder to reason under the time pressure. So, the pattern that ships is having a linear or tree structured execution. Agent 1 runs, passes the state to the next agent, maybe the agent 2 runs, passes the state to the next agent, that is agent 3. The execution trace is a sequence over here. You read the logs top to bottom and you will understand what has happened. If the agent 2 made a bad decision, you look into the state it received, maybe from the agent 1, and there's no graph traversal is required when you're using this pattern. And another challenge that we would get when we are using the research paper approach is the latency. See, the multi-agent system have two latency regimes. One is sequential and the parallel. Sequential latency is like a additive, but when it comes to the parallel, it is bounded by the slowest agent. Now, both are worse than the single agent. In a sequential, let's say 5 agent system, if an agent or if each agent takes 2 seconds each, then the total latency would be 10 seconds. Now that violates most production service level objective. And Another key thing that you need to remember over here is you can't parallelize arbitrarily because the agents often depend on each other's output. So what we try to do over here is we try to parallelize. We ran the researcher and planner in parallel, then merge their output for the critic. It worked sometimes. In some cases, the researcher's data invalidated the planner's assumption and we had to rerun. And this retry logic added another set of complexity which didn't consistently reduce the latency. So when we talk about the production constraint, the P95 latency needs to be under 3 seconds for the interactive use cases, and it should be under 10 seconds for the batch. The multi-agent systems are fighting an uphill battle over here. So the pattern that ships are two agents with maybe one parallel batch. Agent 1 does retrieval. In parallel, agent 0 maybe does the intent classification. If the intent is high confidence, maybe we'll skip the retrieval, go straight to the agent 2 for generation. So if the intent is low confidence, maybe you wait for the agent 1, then generate. So in this scenario, for the average case, you will have a 2-second latency. And for the worst case, you might get 4 seconds, but this would fit your service level objective. So the key insight over here is you're not trying to decompose the problem into as many agents as possible. You're trying to stay within the latency budget while improving the quality. And most of the time, that's just the two agents and occasionally three. Now, this is the pattern that actually ships, and this is what you need to focus on. See, in the production, the multi-agent architecture looks something like this. You'll have a 2 to 3 agents, explicit handoffs via state machine. Each agent has a single responsibility, and there is no agent to agent messaging agents. So everything will read from the state and write the results back to the shared state. The orchestrator would control the flow. We can take the example of the customer support agent. So agent 1 can perform the intent classification. It will read the user query, writes the intent and the confidence to the state memory. The agent 2 would go ahead and perform the retrieval. It will read the intent, write the documents to the state object. And agent 3 is a generator where it will read the intent and documents and writes the response. And the overall here, the orchestrator is the one that's going to decide the flow. If the confidence is high, and let's assume that if the confidence is high and if the query type is FAQ, then it would actually skip the retrieval itself. It will use the parametric knowledge. If the confidence is low, then only it will perform the retrieval. Or if the confidence is low, we can also go ahead and maybe route to the human. If the confidence is medium, we can run all the three agent. So the reason that this would work because here the cost is controlled because you only invoke the agents only when it is necessary. I think that's mentioned over here. Conditional agent invocation, which is basically a cost control that I was referring to. So over here, you would have the conditional. You will retrieve only if the intent requires the external knowledge. You will always run the generation based on the parametric knowledge if the retrieval is skipped. You will only validate if the generation confidence is low. So the reason that this works because the cost is controlled. You only invoke only when it is necessary. The debuggability is simple in this scenario because the state machine is explicit. The latency is bounded because the critical path is actually 2 agent or at the max 3 agent. It's not 5 or 7 agent. So the trade-off over here is you would lose the emergent collaboration that makes the multi-agent systems intellectually interesting. But I think that should be okay. We are not here to design the system that looks good. We are here to design the system that gets shipped. So here you're going to gain the operational simplicity that makes the system shippable. So I've also linked these resources in the description. You just join the community, community.nachiketh.in, and you can find all these resources over there. Now let's come back. What is the mental model and the key takeaway from this video? See, the academic framing of multi-agent system emphasizes the agent autonomy and dynamic coordination. When we talk about the production framing, it emphasizes cost, latency, and debuggability. The reusable mental model is here simple. The agent count is a cost center. Every agent is going to add, you're going to add in your system, it's going to increase your inference budget, and it's going to increase your latency. It's going to increase your operational complexity. So you add the agent when the quality gain justifies the cost. And most of the time it doesn't. The systems that ship mostly have fewer agents with explicit coordination, not more agents with emergent coordination. So the complexity budget goes into the state management, error recovery, and conditional execution, not on your agent topology. So if you're designing the multi-agent system for production, just start with one agent and add second only when you can't solve the problem with better prompting or retrieval. And add a third only when the quality gap is measurable and the cost trade-off is justified. So the simplest topology that meets the constraint always win. So if you understand the importance of retrieval quality, but let's say if you haven't built a structured rack pipeline yourself, then I would say this is a great place to start. So in this program, you will actually build an end-to-end rack system step by step from data ingestion to deployment. So no fluff, just practical implementation that you can follow on ship. So check out the link rack.nachiketh.in, and don't forget to join my community, that is community.nachiketh.in, so that you can download all the code snippet that I've shown in the video and use it for your reference as and when you are building your production resources. Join the community. I'll see you next time.